attend the meeting in person at the first floor of the meeting room in the library where we are right now, or by streaming the meeting over the YouTube channel. A recording of the meeting is made available after the meeting on the city's website. Right now we have public comment period. I don't believe we have any public comment. All right, we just move on. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll go through and do attendance. So Angela? Teresa?
Present.
Nick? Here. Peg? Here.
Here.
And Adam? Present. All right, all in favor, I guess. Don't need to do that. I don't know why I'm getting mixed up today. I'm calling to order. But we can get started with the meeting. And I guess first item on the agenda is welcoming Craig as a new board member, first meeting in person. So thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Round of applause, so you don't know anything about it. Doesn't get better.
You showed up, so.
Hopefully everybody had a chance to see the agenda prior to the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Again, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Agenda approved. So we'll move right on to the updates and reports. And first we have the Library Foundation report. And I know Brenda is here and ready as always, so.
Here I am. Board recruitment is going well. We're excited to have new members joining, including a new treasurer. We are beginning planning for our holiday shopping auction. So if anybody has any ideas or thoughts, please send me an email. If you don't have my email address, please send it to Karen and she'll forward it to me. And I spoke too soon when I said we were going to try a hybrid meeting since the tech isn't really up to speed. So we'll probably hold that up until September. So the rest of the information is in the packet. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks so much, Brenda. Next, we have Val here from the Friends of the Library. You have an update?
Hi. So the Rochester Fest book sale that we had in June netted a profit of $7,200, which is pretty phenomenal when our most expensive book is $2. We move a lot of stuff. That amount of money will cover the funding that we give to the Seed Library as well as the Homebound Books group bags and deposit boxes program. So we appreciate all the volunteers and shoppers who came and purchased quite a bit of materials. Our next sale, we're doing something new. We normally prefer to deal in just books and games and DVDs and CDs. But through a set of circumstances, we have come into, we've been given a large amount of collections and collectibles that it's really hard to sell through our normal book selling channels. And it's a lot of time and effort to try to find channels to sell some of this stuff. So we're going to have a special sale on Saturday, August 5th called the Curiosity Emporium in the auditorium. It's just a wide variety of things. She told me today she's got over 300 vintage t-shirts. There's vintage aprons. There's mortar and pestles. There's flasks and beakers. There's a collection of black sheep. If you know anybody in the family who's got a reputation of being the black sheep, you can come get something to give to them. So anyway, it's Saturday, August 5th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the auditorium, our Curiosity Emporium. And we're not suggesting that we want to continue to take items like this. But like I said, it was a set of weird circumstances that we even have all this stuff. So please come and shop, if nothing else, just to be wowed by the weird stuff we have. Any questions?
That sounds like fun.
That's August 5th.
August 5th, the first Saturday in August. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we do plan to open up half an hour early for library staff. So, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Val. And then Teresa, do you have a softball update today?
There is no update because there's not been a meeting since our last one. There is a meeting next week, so I'll have an update next week.
Perfect.
I won't be here next month, but I will provide an update Friday.
Perfect. I can then. Next, just quickly moving to the consent agenda. Hopefully, again, everybody saw that. I didn't ask moving forward. Unless there's any questions on the consent agenda, to have a motion to approve as outlined.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second from Angela. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right, consent agenda approved. We keep moving on to the reports and recommendations, and I know we meant to talk last month about the automated materials handler contract, and so luckily we can talk about it today. So I'll hand it off here.
Yeah, so included in the packet was information about the contract and the vendor for the automated materials handling system, and also a sole source justification form that explains why we're going with this vendor and not doing an open bid process, but sticking with a vendor because it is very specialized equipment. We have experience with the vendor, and we are also able to reuse a significant dollar amount of items by going with the same vendor. So if there were any questions about the vendor or the
What happens to the old one?
They take all the parts of it and they use them in other things, or they
Recycle.
maybe they end up on eBay. That's, I think, where we thought we started ourselves, because
Yeah.
as a reminder, our AMH is past its,
There's a lot of probably a lot of parts that they can reuse or resell.
sometimes.
So,
there are questions.
We've talked about it quite a bit, so
yeah.
Good decision.
yeah. Do you need an official motion to approve? Do I have a motion to approve? Thanks, Nick. Any seconds?
Seconded.
Thanks, Teresa. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any dissent? All right, you have your motion, Karen, to
Woohoo.
proceed. Thank you.
We no longer have to station Andy in the back bookshop for all of the materials.
Next, informational items, we have the youth representation and then the library snapshot.
Yes. So I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit in our May meeting. We did talk about how we could get a youth rep back on the library board. And we reached out to the mayor's office to find out what the status was with the youth commission, and found that there is a youth Rochester Olmsted Youth Council that has replaced what the youth commission used to be. So the youth commission, again, just a reminder or a little refresher, we did previously have a teen library council. Our youth services team has really found that having connections in the schools and doing other things has provided a better opportunity to meet the needs of the kids than what the council was able to do. And so back in 2020, we were pulling a youth representative from the youth commission. And then there was a window in time where that dissolved. But let's see in the next slide that the Olmsted Youth Council is very active. They have about 25 students that are participating. And they do have interest in helping us to find a youth rep. So they have an interest in opening it up not just to members of the youth council, but because it's run through the mayor's office, kind of assisting in that support for finding a representative. And one of the tasks really that I would love discussion and your input on is creating this job description so we have a better idea of what what we're really looking for. So the expectations are there for anybody that would be part of the youth or that would be a youth rep to the library board. We are actually going to engage with some summer interns that have been working with the city who will be listening to tonight's meeting and gathering this feedback so that they can help formulate a job description that we could then bring back to you. So tapping into youth to help put this description together to again, get this description ready so that we can get a youth member. So my question to all of you is what are you looking for from a youth rep? Are you looking for somebody that's a library user, somebody that's not a library user? Is the perspective or the skills or traits, input that you're looking for to help inform library board decisions? Again, a reminder, the youth rep is not a voting member of the board, but does provide perspective and is here to provide that perspective.
What is the minimum age for a youth? And when is one no longer a youth? You get 18?
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
The job description was.
Yeah, 16 to 18 or 15 to 18.
So 15 would be the minimum age?
That's just a suggestion, but
I mean, there is nothing in place, is it, right?
well, what about other library policy? Like a 13-year-old can be alone in the library or?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
we do have volunteers because I would
Oh, yeah,
align, I guess, with our volunteers, and we do have volunteers as young as 13.
So there's no minimum age
Nothing
for
is
this
established.
particular,
Not for the role, no.
There probably was for the youth commission
yeah.
for their members, but
And this person, we would ideally like for help also in the children's collection as well, or are we just focusing on his or her input into the youth program?
So really, it's helping set that strategic direction and not the operational activities. So it wouldn't be somebody that would be doing the collection work. It would be somebody that's assisting and informing decisions that are made here at the strategic level
Right,
that the libraries.
but that would include children's programs. Would that person be?
I would say that's operational and something that's happening at the operational level with our youth staff.
I do think though that, if I think about the committees having just kind of gone through the committee, here are the committees and here they're doing, that a youth perspective would be excellent in any of the committees that, with the possible exception of personnel, but right, the committee work that this board breaks up and does, a youth perspective would be incredible. And then just thinking about that third bullet point of, what do we need them to bring to the meeting, but also what do we hope they would take away from this experience and share in, their other circles, so that it is that idea of kind of spreading information about what public libraries are and why they're important. So that leads to just my last point, which is I would like to see us not even mention whether or not they're a library user, because I'd hate to have somebody, who's interested not participate because they don't consider themselves a library user. But that's just my thought on that.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I guess the only thought I had initially was similar, where I would hope there'd be something of, involvement in 1 to 2 of the committees, thinking like advocacy or something else, but knowing too, maybe that's even a lot of time to ask of a youth representative. It's just this one committee is already, a lot of commitment, and how much more could we expect? So maybe it's ability to attend one additional committee or subgroup, and I agree, with
Yeah.
personnel or those kind of things.
Advocacy would be great, or the, future planning types of things.
Are we thinking a term a year for this person? Because we would want, in my mind, I'm thinking having more students learn about the library would be great. So if it were a 1-year term, but it may be hard to fill every year. I don't know. So, but, also a student want to do something like that for a couple of years. I don't know. We need a youth perspective to find out.
Yeah.
Well, you may get somebody that you want to keep for 2 years.
Right. Could be 1 year with the potential for second extension of another year.
And do we want to think about, well, they're relatively young, but something about their backgrounds or what they're interested in? Do we want to be, I don't know, somebody that's wants to be a teacher or somebody that wants to do this or that has an interest in education? Or do we want to be that specific? Or
Well, I think that, as I think about the role of the library changing, there could be a lot of interests that kind of intersect with what public libraries do, but I kind of like the idea of maybe there's an essay question of, tell us about why you're interested in this. And then we might, find
yeah, I would like to
out
see
things.
something.
This still be the same process as someone appointed to the board in general, where it's all through the mayor's office, or would the board have a bit more oversight of the selection?
That is a good question. With our previous arrangement with the youth commission, it was very, the board was very hands-off and the selection was made by the youth commission and recommendations were made. So.
Would it help if we sent our thoughts to you by a certain date or to some? How would we do that if we had extra thoughts about the answer to some of these questions?
I
Would we send an email to you?
I think we can do it. There's one of two ways we can do it. We could do it that way. I think there's the importance and the value of having board's input and agreed upon input. So we do run a little of those individual comments, not necessarily, maybe there are two competing ideas or thoughts.
Which is okay.
Angela, or you can say.
Yeah, I would like just add on that point because the marketing, how we select is very important because based on my experience, the underserved and the representative group are always less know about those informations, especially when we link with the city of Rochester. And then I don't just want to rely on the youth community to make it. And then in that case, only this part of the group people have the knowledge about it and then they get advantage of being part of that. I don't want that happen for the library youth representative. I agree with Diana said this is for all members it's for all people who would like to know more about the library. This is an opportunity for them to learn, but also opportunity for us to know that how we can improve the youth program from a bigger point of view.
And how, folks perceive public libraries is very different depending on where they come from and their experiences. I do think that's important.
Yeah, we've had some similar discussions recently just about the board in general and how do people know that there's a vacancy? Can we maybe publicize that more within the library, which obviously we're getting back to just users of the library predominantly, I suppose, but maybe that could be a recommendation back to the interns that are helping is outside of a job description, can you help to get the message out, communicate that we're going to have a need for youth representation? I think along those lines, when I first joined the board a few years ago, we had 2 youth representatives and then we went down to 1. I don't know if this is something that we'd be looking for 2 again, more of a rotational type basis. We'd look for 1 only.
What was the idea for 2 versus 1?
I think it was just the recommendation from the youth council or the mayor at that point. I don't really know.
And did they rotate and only one attended or?
It was.
No, it was 2 at a time,
2 at a
but I'm not sure how that was decided upon. When it previously was a representative from the teen library council, it was 1 person. Was it always 1 person looking, or was it? I remember it being 1 person, but I can follow up on that. That's.
And even if he or she does not have voting privileges, we need to find a meaningful way for he or she to be involved.
And that's a good point, because I also thought about that when you were talking about the process and really, I think it would be most impactful if a similar process, right? The mayor and city council both, even if it's just on the consent agenda, see that person's name and then they have that to, as part of their kind of career building or life skill building.
Have the youth persons in the past actually spoken during the meetings? I mean, my concern is to have they, because meetings that I've attended, the person that was here never spoke. So I just don't know if they feel intimidated being around, all adults and.
Well, there was a part in the addenda for her to speak. It was youth representative time to give us an update.
Yeah, and I know most of the items that Chloe would bring were really regarding like, what happened at the youth commission meetings, and they didn't
Okay.
meet for a long time. Those
Right.
things fell off. But
Right.
I think that would be a part of the job description, is we'd expect an update at each
Yeah,
board meeting. Now, what?
On
necessarily
what?
want to update on.
Exactly.
yeah,
So what are we asking them to bring to us?
yeah.
Maybe they have a responsibility to do kind of surveys or something. I don't think.
Yeah,
Or even if it was less formal, but to interact with others and kind of
Right.
find perceptions of library services or
Mhm.
libraries, in general, those kinds of things. But I like the idea of having something
Mhm.
because it'll be important to them too to have.
Otherwise, it'll just be bored sitting here listening to talk about budgets.
I would like to suggest that the youth representative can have opportunity to meet like annually with the youth program director to really go through all the year planning, because we can know the ideas from the youth, which is very beneficial because sometimes we just think out of adults' head of what is best for the youth, but we can take this as opportunity to hear from the youth before we do the annual planning. That will be very helpful and especially helpful for the youth program.
And I do think it's important to point out that that a lot of those conversations are happening with our youth services team in having discussions with youth. That is part of their normal practice in what they are doing. And I think that can also be challenging, right? When we expect one youth representative to be the speaker of all youth of Rochester, when there may be multiple perspectives that our youth team is already listening to, that could be challenging, I think, a little bit operationally. So, yeah, how to create the best balance of getting that input, but also acknowledging that there has been input that has been happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm hoping our listeners that will be listening later will have our idea is really to have them listen, look at other youth representatives on other youth library boards or other youth boards and kind of craft a draft description and a draft process that we could then bring back in the next couple months. So
sure.
That sounds good.
And not to volunteer the personnel committee, but I will. That the personnel committee could certainly be involved in reviewing a first draft as well. I think that'd be a good idea to get the
That's a great process.
Yeah.
personnel committee more
Great
involved.
idea. Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. And then next on the agenda, we'd asked previously for Karen to bring forward every time we have a sort of a snapshot or rundown of library operations each year. I find it tremendously valuable and interesting and lots of questions. So we'd ask Karen to provide another update on 2022 and moving
Yes.
forward. So excited to.
So this is hot off the presses. And our thought was to really just kind of preview it so you could have a chance to digest. And then next month, go over a more granular presentation. And also in that time, if you could ask questions one-on-one or shoot me an email or whatever about other data points that you might be interested in. For example, one that we don't have included on here that I will be sharing in my annual update to Olmsted County Commissioners, as part of their budget process, is the digital versus physical collection usage. And I had to, double check with both Jeremiah and Perna that the math was right, because it does really show that significant shift in more folks returning to physical collection usage. So I thought that was really fascinating. And there are other data points to highlight, but this gives us just kind of those numbers, but we can speak next month a little bit more about what that really means. You know, when we're talking about 50,000 cardholders, for example, that's down slightly from the year before, and we knew that was going to be happening as you know, every 3 years we're purging records, and we had people that weren't coming in 2020 and weren't coming for a very long time. So we knew that was going to be happening, but our collection use is off the charts high. So
Karen, if you think about 2022, like what is the one thing for you that, like the one statistic that captures kind of the feel of the year, or the one?
I would say that collection use, because to surpass the 2 million mark is a big mark. And it really does, again, speak to people still having interest in, yes, I think there was this window in time where we were uber focused on programs, and we still are focused, and there's still that value on programs, but that heart and the meat of what we do are those resources that people are utilizing. And to me, that spoke volumes. I would also say the library visits, that uptick, really, this is about getting back to that new normal, kind of how we've said it, because last year was more normal than the year before, but 2023 will be our most normal. So because early in 2022 we still had some restrictions on our access, and so yeah, I do expect or I do see this as kind of that, again, upward trend, getting back into that routine of being in the library.
I was looking at the year-to-date statistics in the package, and it looks like we're almost to 2019 levels again. Is that right?
Yeah.
Even in reference.
Collection use?
Even in reference.
So yeah,
Not quite there, but.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I was looking just at our circulation, and we are actually, when you look at our statistics from 2019, our circulation is up at least 50,000 over 2019. So we're busy, but we also know that our door count isn't exactly back up to 2019. Part of that is digital, but is part of that more folks just carrying more and taking more things with them. Yeah.
And the reference is not quite as dramatic as that increase, but maybe that has something to do with, I don't know, learned reluctance to speak to people at the desk, over the pandemic time. But I do see it is increasing every.
Yeah. Anecdotally, I had somebody saying that it's just now or just recently that a lot more of those longer conversations are happening, where they're it feels less transactional and less quick and longer interactions. Anyone
It's hard to lose those habits.
Chime in with anecdotal experiences that you're having?
Anecdotally, where I work today was one of my first real in-person meetings, where it's always been Zoom and Teams and everything. So it seems like it's taking forever for everybody to get out of that. I'm used to sitting in my
probably seeing
computer.
that here too.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to read into it.
Yeah.
Hopefully COVID's behind us. Yeah, thanks so much. We'll look forward to the next meeting.
It's really nice. I like it. I love that the freedom to read resolution is there. I think that's so important. So thanks.
Great. And I shared, I know this in my update, the board memo that I just returned from ALA, and being at ALA and talking to other libraries, and really I have so much gratitude for our board for really protecting our freedom to read and for taking a very vocal stand against censorship last year and again this year in with the adoption of the resolution supporting Pride. We're really fortunate. We have a really good community, so really grateful for that. So
Super important.
All right, well, any additional questions, or items for the good of the group? That, I guess I would motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll second it.
Oh, thanks. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody.